You know, there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Yo, this is Mikey Rotten. You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, before I introduce our awesome interviewee, everybody please go out and subscribe to BODS Mayhem Hour on YouTube. Just click the subscribe button and click that notification bell. It just takes 2 seconds. That's all I'm asking, because we got a lot of great interviews coming up for you guys and gals out there, and plus giveaways. You know, awesome stuff coming up. So without further ado, I want to welcome my guest today is rapper Mikey Rotten, and he has released his Hardly Human EP, and he is also off of his sold out national tour. So we're gonna be talking about all of this stuff, and check out his single and video titled "Demonstrate" with Xavier Wulf, and you don't want to miss out on that. So Mikey, welcome to the podcast, and how you doing, my man?
I'm doing all right, man. Just chilling with the homie, Shotty God. Shout out Shotty God, Quitter now. Quitter. Just switched his name, Quitter.
How difficult was it for you when you first moved out to LA? Because this was a big step for you, man. I know you was living out of your vehicle for a while, but let's talk about that for just a little bit if you don't care.
So basically, I had a homie who lived up here. He's kind of a mentor to an extent back in Indianapolis, but he moved up here. His daughter was working out here. And he told me, like, he was doing well at first, and he was like, yo, you know, if you want to come out to LA to do this music shit, you could come stay with me. And I was like, all right, bro, 6 months, I'm coming. And then like 6 months later, apparently some shit came up with him. And I gave him a call 2 weeks before, like right after I booked my trip. I was like, I'll be there in 2 weeks. He was like, man, shit happened. I'm staying with my daughter. I don't know if you could stay here. And I was like, well, bro, I'm coming regardless. You know what I'm saying? And his daughter actually ended up liking me. She let me stay with her for like, I think it was like 2 months. Ended up being crazy as fuck. Like literally she'd wake me up like 3 a.m. to take her laundry downstairs when I had to work at 6 a.m. at the moment. Like I had a little job working for this restaurant that had a show on the Oprah network called Sweetie Pies. And she worked there also. She was like the star of the show or whatever, but she was crazy. Like wanted me to help wash her cat 4 a.m. Like just like the most random shit. And then when I'd be like, nah, she'd be like, try and fight me over it. Like literally like swinging. And it's like, I can't beat up a girl. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it was like, I ended up renting a studio, moving into a trap studio on Hollywood. It was like in the basement on Hollywood and iBar. And it was like illegally rented out. I was living out of it for like a good long while, ended up linking up with a bunch of people, throwing a lot of underground shows. That ended up falling through because this brand called Rich and Rotten wanted my studio. So they paid the dude off to kick us out. And he was like, kicked us out. And they took over my studio because I basically had like 2 rooms and they were like good priced and shit like that. So he paid them out to take over my rooms. We went and bought an RV for $1,000. We jumped in it. Dude gave us a test ride. He gassed out in it. We're fucking flying down the road. We're like, this shit's crazy. Hell yeah, you know? And then like, everything, we think everything's good, you know what I mean? Paid for the RV. My homie puts it in drive and goes to take off. It just reverses into our fucking Uber car. Was our only form of income at the time other than just mixing, and we couldn't even like mix or record anyone because we lost our studio. And then we ended up living out the RV. The electricity didn't work, bathroom didn't work, dealt with that, lived out the RV on the side of Cahuenga and like Sunset for like 6 months or something like that. And then I had to go on like a little DJ tour. I went and did the little DJ tour, dropped it off in on Burbank in the Valley where there was no like street cleaning signs. I'd pass it off to my homie who was like kind of a homeless underground rapper too. He's the one who connected me with like Eddie Baker and Wolf and a bunch of them. And basically I went on the little tour, came back. I came back with like a car from Indianapolis. Me and my best friend actually were the ones who went on tour, and I got him off heroin when he out to LA to stay with me. And then when we went on this little DJ tour, when we went through Indianapolis to pick up his car, he fucking hit the dope house with the dumb fucking dope whores, you know what I mean? And I had to search him down. I tracked him down and showed up and like dragged him out the crib. And like we got in a huge argument. The like bitch he was with like accidentally dumped her whole cup of pucker vodka and like was like trying to like jump in my car as I'm driving, and I fucking kicked her out the fucking car, drove off, punched him in the face, like, and he was like, "You could drop me off, you could have the car, I don't care." And I was like, "All right." And then
Yeah.
I started living out the car for a while. Came back to LA, stayed in a garage in Hawthorne for a little bit because by the time I got to LA, the brakes started fucking up. They like seized and I couldn't drive the car around. So like I couldn't stay in the car like all the time. And then I ended up getting a studio in downtown Los Angeles where I also wasn't supposed to stay, kind of lockout warehouse kind of deal. And then one of the other dudes wanted my room, but I moved in and he got salty. So he like was hiding in the back of the warehouse, like literally waiting for me to do something wrong with a camera. And he told me, he was like, don't, he was like, "This is my space. This is your space." And he had like the lobby area and there was like just a couch in there and like a green screen essentially. And like, I ended up like, this girl came through, I'd been dry for like a minute, you know what I'm saying? And, girl came through and wanted to hook up, and like I didn't have all my stuff in my studio yet. I was trying to hook up in the studio, like on the desk kind of deal, and she was like, "No, like there's a couch in there. Let's go on the couch." I'm like, "This is a bad idea. The motherfucker's crazy." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and he was cool. Like he wasn't like crazy as in the sense of like I thought he was gonna shoot me, or I thought he was just weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like just a super weird character. You know, he's like this black dude named Enoch. And then like, she talked me into going on the couch. We were about to hook up on the couch, basically like took her clothes off, and then dude bust out the back of the warehouse where there's no entrances. So he had been it was like 4 a.m. at this point. He'd been hiding in the warehouse the whole time, busted out with like a camera, and I'm just seeing flashes like I'm thinking it's SWAT with like a strobe. Like I didn't even know. Like, and then I just stood up. And then he was like, "Sit back down. Why are you stopping now?" And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, and then he like had all this like false shit on me. He was basically saying like he's gonna go to the police and do all this weird shit. And like I had no friends hardly at the time. I had no like support system. I had like, you know what I mean? I don't deal with the police normally. He's like threatening to call the police. So he was like trying to like say some weird shit about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I got super tripped out. I wasn't supposed to be living there. I had nowhere to put any of my shit, spent every last penny I had on the shit. And he tried to like blackmail me to in turn blackmail the main dude in the building to get dude to give him money and let him have my space. You know what I'm saying?
And then hell, dude.
Yeah, I really went through it, bro. Like I've slept, like at that point I had got a van, like someone kind of gifted me a van. They were like, "We need someone to watch our van." And it had a bed in it. It was like a hippie van. So I was like, "Fuck, I'll take the van," and half van. And I was half sleeping out the van and sleeping in the studio. You know what I mean? Kind of going back and forth. And I'd come in like in the middle of the night, and he'd be like sitting in the lobby, like in the dark, like just all weird with sunglasses on. You know what I'm saying? I'd go to walk into the back of the warehouse, lights be off, and then like as I'd pass him, he'd like say something under his breath, and I'd be like, "What the fuck?" Like, I'm telling you, psycho shit, like weirdo shit. It's like the thing is, I'd have beat dude up. Like the reality of it is, if it came down to it, I'd have whooped his ass. But it's like it wasn't that simple, and it was like the first time in my whole life that I couldn't fight my way out of a situation other than being like arrested. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been arrested a lot, like as a juvenile, like hundreds of times almost. Wow. But it was like, you can't fight your way out of that situation. I couldn't find my way out of this situation because all it took was for him to snitch on me to the main dude, and then that could get out just for causing problems. You know what I mean? And since it's a commercial space, like they don't have to give you like a 30-day notice. Like they only have to give you a 3-day notice. You know what I mean? And then you have like 2 weeks to get out type shit. Yeah. I had nothing. I had no options. I had all this studio gear, foam, $2,600 desk, monitors, mixers, interfaces, mics, DJ gear, like, you know, just dumb amounts of gear, all my whole life that I built up, like all in this little space that I wasn't supposed to be living in. So, but it ended up dude ended up snitching on me and tried to call the police, but the police realized dude was a weirdo, I guess. Like the prosecutor literally like summons me into her office, and I had to go like fucking deal with her. I just told her like, dude's weird. I don't know what the fuck's going on. You know what I mean? Like, dude just tried to blackmail me. I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? And then that was like the end of the legal side of it. You know what I mean? Like he had no case. You know what I mean? Like he was trying to hit every angle to try and like to scare me essentially into like doing what he wanted me to do, which I don't even know what he really wanted me to do. He went to the owner, did some weird shit. The owner like knew he was on some weird shit and took my side over it. Ended up kind of resolving the situation. Like he walked in my studio one day and like got in my face, and I fucking pushed him down. And then he like, that's when he ran upstairs and told on me, because I just got tired of like dealing with it. You know what I mean? And I was like, at that point, I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was ready to beat him up. And then he realized, and he went upstairs on me. It ended up resolving itself. Ended up moving to another studio across the street diagonal when that space wasn't lit anymore. And then I ended up tapping in, throwing more parties with like Eddie Baker and tapping in with Wolf and all of them. And Eddie was like, bro, you need an apartment. I was like up on money at that time. So I ended up getting an apartment and been in this apartment ever since.
Dude, the stories of LA, that's the God's honest truth, man. But good God, like I said, you went through hell, but hey, it's paying off now, looks like,
Yeah, that's like a quick summary. That's not like all the
jeez
details. Like the first studio I lived in ended up right after I got kicked out. Like police kicked in the door and raided the spot, and it was like not fit for even like it was made to be storage space apparently that they converted legally into a studio and started renting out. So like everyone got kicked out, but then they all like everyone who went to jail got back out and just broke in and started squatting the entire building, the apartments upstairs, the basement. I like caught wind of that. Me and Eddie like went there and noticed that the comedy club got taken down too. We fucking like the homie who was like, he was like the slumlord. Like we literally walked in there and like I pressed him to use the space. Like, and I told Eddie, I was like, nah, bro, we're muscling it. Like, I don't give a fuck. We ain't giving him nothing. He's like, nah, bro, you got to politic with the streets. I was like, all right, I guess. And we went in and he's like got this super hood, like chick with like, she had like a machete next to her. And it's like, they're in like this building right on Hollywood Boulevard on like the fucking top floor. Just like they had studios built in there. So electricity's still going, just squatting it out. And then like we politicked with them, ended up using like the nightclub downstairs, through like a huge party in it, underground party, like went crazy. Like there's 100 stories that like I went through out here. You know what I mean?
Jeez. So I mean,
all the way up.
You're coming off the sold out national tour that you were on. How does this make you feel now, putting in the time, the effort, and sacrifice for your music, man, when you look back on it, after coming off this tour and going through all this?
I mean, I think I feel a little bit less stressed out about it. You know what I mean? Like I've kind of like entered a zone of like things are in motion. You know what I mean? Things are working out for the most part. So I'd say I'm less stressed, but to be honest, it's like, I feel like it's all part of my story. It's all part of the journey. It's not really about the destination. The destination is just what you think you want, but it's really the story. It's the path to the destination. That's what's really important in my opinion. So I don't know. I think that's just like, all that is just a chapters in my book,
Sure. You cut your teeth in the hardcore scene. Let's talk about this a bit, but what did you want to do rap, man? I know you could have done anything else out there in this world musically, but what led you down the path of wanting to do rap music and throw anything else in there with it?
Well, to be honest, like growing up, I never thought I'd ever be a rapper. Like I didn't think I had the option. I thought my voice, like I hear my voice on camera, I think it sounds funny. You know what I'm saying? I think that like I'm a white boy, you know what I mean? Like I just didn't think I fit in that whole culture of things. And it was like growing up, what inspired me to do music was like the hardcore shows, the punk shows, the screamo shows, like all those like underground circuits of kids with band tees going crazy in the crowd. You know what I mean? Like that energy is what brought me into music. And then I got into like DJing and different styles of like electronic and experimental music through drugs and like psychedelics and shit like that. And then when I stopped doing as many drugs and like stopped doing as many psychedelics and started really focusing on music, I lost inspiration in that shit. And I just had to ask myself like, what really inspired me to do it? And then it was like those shows. It was like that network, that scene, that energy that they had. And then I asked myself like, what is that today? You know what I mean? Because that scene's still like doing its thing, but it's not like, it doesn't have the kids like it did. It doesn't have the same energy that it did. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what is that energy? And it was like this underground SoundCloud rap music. And I just happened to be tapped in with people like Eddie Baker. I knew Lil Xan, unfortunately, through the grapevine. Cool kid, but kind of, you know, got his quirks, you know what I'm saying? But and then I knew like a lot of the meme dudes who were kind of affiliated, like Nick Coletti. I knew like a lot of the bass producer dudes that I knew were affiliated with that scene as well. You know what I mean? And I just had I had like a couple dudes, like my homie Big Esco, like he just showed up in my studio, didn't even know him. Dude bigger than you, muscular, face tats, like Hispanic and black, random dude just like showed up like, what's up? And I'm like, what up? I'm like, what's up? He's like, I'm Big fucking Esco. He's like, I was told to come here. You know what I mean? And I was like, all right, come on in. You know what I mean? He ended up like being dope and further inspiring me to like work on this style of music and to find my sound and my style and shit. And then like, I just kept pushing, you know what I mean?
How crucial was the underground for you though? Because I mean, like you said, kids nowadays they barely have that scene going on, and that sucks because back in the day when I got to see it was huge, it was awesome. But how crucial was it for you personally, possibly?
I'd say that like the underground scene that I was in when I was young, it's hard to explain. It's like where I'm from. I mean, I'm from Louisiana, and that's where I was born, and that's where I lived for a portion of my life. But like by the time I was old enough to start going to shows and doing shit like that, like 11, 12, had moved to Indianapolis and met people out there. And the Indianapolis scene is interesting because it's like Indianapolis is a very gritty place, if that makes sense. It's like it gets cold, it gets hot. It's like you get all seasons. It's like there's not shit to do. There's no opportunity, no inspiration. So it's like just a very cold, gray place, you know? And it was like there's a lot of gangs in the area that I grew up in, and I wasn't like really trying to be a gangbanger. Like I tried to stay away from that. Like I was into skateboarding and BMX and like graffiti art, underground street art, shit like that. I just was always influenced by like the underground cultures. And when I found that scene, it was like there was all these kids who weren't like gangbangers, but they were like still street. Like there was like where I'm from, they had like super violent like crews, like Courage Crew. They were like all straight edge, like hardcore kids that just like ganged up and fucking whooped ass for doing drugs and shit. Like I wasn't affiliated with that, but it was like that energy, that like aggressive, angry energy, that like emotion energy, all like that, but it had like this twist of street to it, and it just, I don't know, it just appealed to me and like my upbringing and like what like my experience, you know.
How excited are you to release the Hardly Human EP and see the reviews come in, man? What's your thoughts on this so far? I know it's only been out for just a little bit, but what's your thoughts on this so far, man?
I mean, it's dope. It's probably one of the dopest EPs I've put out so far. I don't want to say it's the most thought out as far as like conceptually, but I think that each track individually is dope, and I'm pumped on it. But at the same time, like to me, like once it goes out, it's old, and I'm trying to make new shit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it's new to everyone else, but it's old to me. You know, so
yeah.
I've already made 2 new projects since then. You know.
Yeah, old to you and sick to you and ready to get on and move on, and us is brand new.
Yeah. My producer is like more an industry cat. Like he came up in the industry, you know what I mean? And I'm not industry at all. So he's like, we need to like put a little bit more oomph into him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh, that's just old. Like, let's just put out new shit. You know what I'm saying?
So I know we talked about this just a little bit. Demonstrate was the release to grab everybody toward the EP. But what led that to be the track that you guys wanted to put out there? What was it about that said that's got to be the one for us?
Well, I just think that it's just a catchy song. It's like it had the Wolf feature. Wolf's like kind of Wolf and Eddie and like Chris Travis even have been like my mentors, like really getting into the scene. Chris Travis was the first one to bring me on tour. Eddie was the first one to like give me a real feature. Wolf was like the first big artist to give me a feature, and then it was the second feature from him. And I'm on tour with him. It's his tour, sold out tour, blessed me with being in it. And he was like, he liked the song. He was like, let's shoot a video. And I'm like, if we got the video, that's the single, you know, it's a good track, catchy. We got the video. Like, that's going to be like the one we're going to like really put out for it, you know.
Now, you first connected with underground legends, like you said, Xavier Wulf and Eddie Baker through the LA scene. But let's talk about this a little bit. Without their help, do you think you'd be where you are right now, man? Do you think that they are crucial to where you at right now, moving out there with your music career?
I think that, like, obviously I wouldn't be where I'm at without them. But I think that if I didn't have them, I'd be hustling just as hard and I'd still find my way some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? I'm the kind of person that, like, I always did without, but I refused to do without. So I figured out a way to do it, whether I had to build the shit, steal the shit, or finesse the shit, like trade to get it. Like, I was the type of person, like, if you ever seen Craigslist Joe, that movie like inspired me. He started out with like a pin and then traded a pin for something, and he like made his way across the whole country. And I just knew at that point, I was like, I could do that shit. I could get whatever I want in a creative way if I can't get it with bread. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, I've just always been that go-getter, DIY, like break it down, figure out how it works, fucking figure it out. You know what I mean? Get it done.
How was working on the video demonstrate? Because that was filmed by, and correct me if I'm wrong, by Greg Lewis, Killshot, and the real MJ and Quentin Lamb. How was working with those guys on this video?
Well, it kind of was puzzle pieces just because it was originally my song, you know what I mean? And then I got Wolf on it once he heard it. So it was like, I already had planned a couple shots for the video before getting Wolf involved on it. And basically I was shooting with Killshot and Greg Lewis, like that's Baby Flex Film. It's the same person. He just he didn't want to put his name twice in this shit. It just, right. You know what I'm saying? So he put his act and then edited by Baby Flex Film. Do you know what I mean? Or vice versa. But basically it was like Killshot and Greg are like my two main dudes who I do video shit with. And like, we kind of got a little team going. Quentin Lamb is Xavier's like video producer, essentially. Like he puts it all together. He'll shoot sometimes, he'll edit most of the time, you know what I mean? Just depending on the situation. And then the real MJ is our tour videographer. So it was like, you know, we pulled pieces from throughout the experience, as well as I did a scene by myself. And then me and Wolf did two scenes, one during tour, one after tour, needed to get his car in it. Quentin shot the shots with his car. You know what I mean? Greg shot the shots with my car. Killshot shot the B-roll. And MJ shot all the live shots and one of the performance shots in Nashville behind the venue with all the Slammed Enough crew. It's like we went to a car event before the show and they all came out and we shot part of the video. So it was just like it's just like an authentic video that like a lot of people touched, and we like brought a lot of different elements in our experiences into the same shit, you know?
Are these all brand new songs or songs that didn't make a previous album or EP, or these songs that you had in the vault that you said, you know, let's screw it, let's just go ahead and do something with these?
Well, 3 of the songs I actually made last year, over a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago, with an engineer that worked with Kanye on like Jesus is King and worked with on like all the Single Ladies and like a lot of like super big records. And he tracked a couple of them, but then he's so busy, it like just kept getting put off, getting a mix and kept getting put off. And then finally, when he did mix them, like we didn't like the way they were, because he's a pop engineer, you know, so he's trying to make shit too clean, and it just took away all the grit and the feeling out of it. So we ended up pulling it from him. You know, no offense to him, he's just different kind of engineer. Like he's more radio edit kind of engineer than like a hood street trap metal, like, you know what I mean? He just doesn't understand the street and the distortion side of it. Like he's trying to make everything clean and key, so on and so forth, and that's just not my style. So we ended up giving it to another engineer, try to work with him. He didn't get it right, so I ended up doing it myself with the producer Volt. And that's kind of like been my story the whole way through. It's like I'm very involved with every aspect. Like I make most of my album arts. If I don't make them, I'm like guiding the person through it. The video that you saw, the demonstrate video, I edited half of it. Like I didn't put that I edited it, but it's like basically Greg like went through, edited it, and then I came through, made a whole bunch of adjustments, came on, put some more sauce, told him what to do. Like, you know, I'm like every step of the process. Like a lot of my stuff, I made the album art, made the songs, made the beats, wrote the music, recorded, mixed, mastered, like handed the camera to someone who doesn't really know what they're doing, explained it, directed, edited myself. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm very involved with like the overall process of everything.
Now there's several collaborations on here. Was there specific songs that you wanted them to work on, or did you let them pick it out? How'd that work? How'd that go on with this?
Well, basically, I sent Zilla the feature because I knew that was more up his alley, Zilla Kami, and he ended up jumping on it. You know what I mean? And then after I got the Zilla one, I had a couple more beats left over that I showed Wolf. Wolf liked the one that I had already recorded on, so he ended up jumping on that. And then I just had another beat for Eddie that I just thought he'd go hard on, and Eddie's like super easy going, easy to work with kind of dude, so he just jumped on it, ended up being hard, you know.
Any tracks that didn't make this EP, Mikey, that we're going to see on another EP that you're working on, or an album possibly down the road? Was there anything that didn't make this that we could see?
There was one song that I ended up pulling off the EP, and then I ended up not working with that producer anymore. So I actually pulled the lyrics and I put them on. I used some of I like recycled a couple of the lyrics that I was going to put on that track, on that EP, on the punk EP that I'm going to release that I played throughout the tour already. And it's like a punk EP, like literal, like hardcore, like DB 2-step kind of punk shit. It's got some like trap breakdowns, some rap influences, 808s. It's got some drift funk influences in it. I ended up sampling like a show that kind of inspired me. It's like low key, like a family show, but it just like the concept behind it. Like the concept behind the show, if y'all saw Cobra Kai before, it's like the concept is like, stop creating excuses for yourself. Stop being a pussy. Like find your inner strength, work towards it, and be badass. You know what I'm saying? And like that's kind of what I wanted to push with the next project I'm dropping.
You know, man, I know these are your babies, but any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on this EP?
Like which ones stand out more?
Yeah, for you personally.
In my opinion, I really like the Punk Star track because I feel like it really just talks about where I'm at right now. It's like the hook is, she thinking I'm an all-star, so she begging me to smash mouth. I said I trap more. You could catch me in the stash house. I steal so many bows, I might fuck around and pass out. All these glitters ain't gold. Sick and tired, I'm finna lash out. And the idea behind it essentially is that, like, yeah, I'm playing the tours. Yeah, I'm like, I got the car. Yeah, I got like, I'm doing all the shit. You know what I mean? I'm living the lifestyle, but this shit's still a struggle. And I still got to hit the streets and put in the work to get the bread to survive and keep doing this shit. You know, it's like, it looks like I'm on this next level, but I'm still getting to that next level. You know, I'm still working towards it, still trying to figure my shit out.
Even as a podcaster, man, it's a grind. No matter if you're a musician or podcaster, it's an everyday fucking grind, man. And I see that.
That's fact.
And I have to like keep promoting my podcast to get more subscribers on my YouTube channel. And it's crazy that there's young ones out there who have like all kinds of subscribers and are fucking killing it money wise. I'm going, how? I mean, what the hell? But it happens.
I think that the trick is just getting with the right people who have the right buzz and like getting the real information that the kids want to know. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was like the podcast I ended up watching and they ended up blowing up was like they were getting they were asking the right questions to the right people, you know what I mean? And then they were like getting it in front of the right audience. And I feel like it's the same thing with music. Like you said, like it's just about making the right content for the right people, it being true to yourself, having a dope brand and getting it out in front of the right people, working hard. Like this shit ain't easy, like for anybody, even when it looks easy for them. Like that's kind of trick. Like you gotta really grind, hustle, be smart and get on your shit and you gotta make it look easy.
Mikey, was there a track that you were working on that totally ended up sounding different than it was intended to? Was there one track, man, that just kept changing or no?
I would say probably the Punk Star track I was referring to. Like we kind of made the vocals before finalizing the beat. And we ended up like my producer shaking his head at me right now. Cause he was like, cause we went back like 100 times and I'm like, bro, it's just not right. And like, I was trying to explain this shit to him and like, you know, I do produce and I know a lot about it. I would consider myself a pro in Ableton or in the software that I use, but he's like an expert, you know what I mean? So like the terms I'm using aren't the same terms he's using because he like went to school for this shit, worked with the best, like, you know what I mean? So it's like it's hard sometimes, like it's hard to really get something exactly how you want it when you're not doing it yourself because just like the communication barrier, you know. Australian, so there's a little bit of a culture barrier there. Even though he has been in America for a long time, he didn't grow up here. So some of the like references that I'd use or he would use don't always mean the same thing, if that makes sense.
Did the pandemic allow you to be more creative and take more time on this EP, man? Or because I know I hated that we all had to go through this, but it allow you to be more creative, possibly.
I mean, it definitely I just use anything to allow me to be more creative. Like the pandemic, just I was like, well, I can't go out and hustle, so I'm just gonna hustle inside the crib, you know. So I just kept working on shit, kept trying to define my style, define my character, like refine my shit. You know what I'm saying? Meet new people on the internet, get new projects going, get new videos. I just use it as a time to try and build up and stack up. That way I can come out swinging when everything opened back up.
Was there anything specifically you wanted to add on this EP that didn't get added to a previous EP or album or song, possibly that you were looking forward to add on this one, maybe?
Nah, not really. We kind of got all the ones out that we wanted to get out. There's more tracks that I want to make, but I'm the kind of person who's always looking forward, you know? Like I'm not looking at the past. The only time I look at the past is for answers.
Mm-hmm. Did you do the cover art for this EP?
No, but I went diligently through the cover art with the dude who drew the cover art and did the colors. And I did do some of it. Like I had him send me the drawing colored a certain way, and I went and adjusted the colors myself and added all the like the titles and positioned them and chose the fonts and all that kind of stuff. Like I had my hand in making it, and I guided the entire process.
What's the growth musically you've seen from yourself, man? Creating this EP plus your other stuff and just growing as a musician. What's the growth musically that you've seen that's impressed you possibly from yourself?
I mean, to be honest, I feel like as an artist, like you're never quite impressed by yourself. Like you're like, all right, I got a little bit better. Like occasionally, like I have like lines and I'm like, all right, like that's a dope line, or I say something a certain way. But it's like as an artist, like you're hyped on it for a second, but then you're over it the next second. You're ready to make newer, doper shit.
Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts on now seeing rap artists being able to get spots on heavy metal festivals? Because I've liked this. I like where they're throwing different flavors in on these now. But what's your thoughts on seeing this?
I think that the phenomenon of metal or punk or, you know, pretty much any of these different styles, alt grunge, so on and so forth, they're just a representation of like the youth and the culture, you know, and it's not necessarily about the beat pattern or the genre or the scientific shit or whatever, the music theory shit. Like none of that shit really matters. It's about like what pushes the culture, what pushes the feeling, what makes you feel a certain way, what makes you move a certain way. It's like that's what it's really about. So I think that it's good. And I think that like in my opinion, I knew it was going to happen. I knew that music was going to change directions. I knew that things were going to evolve. You know, that's kind of always been something that inspired me, was like the evolution of genres and how things mesh and fractalize into different things.
I know you had a lot of music growing up, and I know you still have a lot of music to this day, but do you still have that go-to album or song that you find yourself going back to and listening to from time to time that you can't kick it out, man? You've got to listen to it eventually.
I mean, this is super off kilter, I feel like, compared to like the style of music that I make. But like right now, like what I'm bumping every single day is Taking Back Sunday, Bike Scene. If you've ever.
Good one.
Bike Scene is the name of the song. I don't know. I like the conviction he has and the emotion in the song. I like the way that the lyrics fall together. I like the idea in the song. It makes me feel a certain type of way. It's reminiscing to my childhood and to what I was inspired by when I was young. And I don't know, it just hits the spot. I fuck with it.
What's been your most memorable moment that you just cannot believe was happening to you or being a part of, possibly, or just a memorable show, man, that sticks out in your head?
It's kind of funny, but because I'm not very Christian and I actually probably talk shit a lot on the ideologies that the Christian religion pushes, more specifically probably the Roman Catholic side of it. But there was a band called Blessed Is He, which was like an underground like black metal band essentially, but it was like a Christian black metal band. But they're just so brutal, and the shows were just so brutal, and there's so much violence, and like the that they brought was just so crazy that their shows really stuck out to me when I was young. And I was I was what, you know, like that it was like the whole music scene was new to me at that time. I was like 13 or something of that nature.
Mikey, how can folks stay in touch with you? Buy this new EP, the Hardly Human EP, and also these new EPs that you're working on. Are they going to also come out this year? Or are we waiting for like next year, possibly?
I mean, my plan is to drop as much music as possible. I'd like to try and drop an EP per month till the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
And the best way to stay connected with is, Spotify, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Apple Music, like all the above. I think that SoundCloud and Bandcamp are the best organized, in my opinion, and that's where you're going to really find like the bulk of the projects and be able to overlook the catalog, if that makes sense.
Mikey, before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Yeah. Yo, this is Mikey Rotten. You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and YouTube link, and subscribe to that YouTube link because we got a lot of stuff coming up, and please do that for me. Also, pick up Mikey Rotten's new EP, Hardly Human. Check out all of his stuff that he's got out there. You will not be disappointed. And folks, I'm also going to tell you that I'm affiliated with Metal Inc. Forum Obscura, which is an online magazine that has obscure art plus album reviews, and also Diary of the Madman, the ultimate Ozzy Osbourne podcast with Dan and Josh. They know more stuff about Ozzy than I think Ozzy knows about him himself, so it's kind of scary. But anyway, stay in touch with those guys also. So, Mikey, thank you so much, man. You're welcome on here anytime that you want.
Yep, thank you. Thanks for having me. Stay up.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.